What up, everybody? It's iPadBeatmaking.com here today. We are going to be using NanoStudio 2 with a similar workflow to that you might have in like FL Studio, and I'm talking about the desktop one. I guess this would kind of apply to the mobile one also, since you can draw in and there's ghost notes and there's scale highlighting. But really, this workflow to me was maximized on the desktop. And honestly, NanoStudio 2 is so good with editing that you really could utilize this workflow with it. The only issue usually is that you don't have the scale highlighting going on. So a lot of people unfamiliar with all of the different scales and having them memorized, myself included, would be that there is no scale guides basically that kind of let you know when you're in key or in scale and out of scale. But today we are going to change all of that. And this actually came about because I was using some scale guides that I created for Multi-Track Studio for iPad. If you haven't checked out that app and you love using a Magic keyboard case or a QWERTY keyboard and trackpad and mouse with your iPad, be sure to check out Multi-Track Studio. We did a video on it here, but I originally built the scale guides for use in MTS, and someone showed me them using them in NanoStudio 2, and I was like, you know what, that works really good. So I went ahead and have adopted that workflow. Also, shout out to Dante Cooper, the producer, who went ahead and showed me how he was using it in NanoStudio 2. And with that in mind, we are going to jump right into NanoStudio 2 and hopefully make a decent sounding beat. First thing that I'm going to do is just pick an AUV3, and for this tutorial I will start with, let's go with Pure Piano. So let's go with, all right, we got Pure Piano here, and we can go ahead and pull a scale in. Let's go with B minor just because I haven't worked with B minor in a little while. So we'll go ahead and grab this, and what I will do first is hit select all actions, copy, and I will then draw. I can pretty much delete this, but I won't yet, but draw out a 4-bar measure, put the playhead at the end of the 4-bar measure, hit actions, paste. And so now you see in this darkened area, this will not play within the 4-bar loop. So we will be able to have a scale guide right here that's lit up. And I originally made these for Multi-Track Studio or MTS for iPad because it goes from 0 to 1 at the beginning, unlike right here where we start at 1. There's a 0 to 1 slot in MTS, so it's perfect for there because usually you'll start at the 1. And as you can see, they are less than 1 bar long for that reason, and they protrude out a little further here on the root note of the scale. So these are really useful helpers that have been built around that concept. So with these helpers, even in NanoStudio 2, you can see where the root note is at all times, which is very helpful for your scale. And just for good measure, let's go ahead and set the scale up within NanoStudio 2 itself. So we'll go to transpose, and we've gone -1, and you can see it's B under the C3. So that means this is B right here. If we were to keep going, we would go A sharp, A, G sharp, G, F sharp, F, and so on. So we'll just go -1 to get to B, and then for our scale we will go ahead and choose minor. So now we've got our playable piano the same as our scale helper, so we could choose at any time to draw in, or we could choose to play in, whatever we're feeling in real time. And that's the beauty of iPad, is you have so many choices with your workflow. Not everything is something you want to play, and not everything is something you want to draw, so you can go ahead and do both. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind when building out chords and melodies within the piano roll is that, you know, think about how you would actually play it. Right? So that would be just chords, but then you kind of see there's a little stutter step there with how I'm playing that. Well, you could draw this in. It's just a matter of how you approach it and how you think about it. So what I like to do when I'm working in double time, let's say 120 and above, I would consider like a double time workflow where you're really making a 60 BPM beat in this case, but you've used the 120 to build it. But it's the same difference really when you're talking about like trap music and whatnot. So what I would do to start this off is, first of all, make this big enough. And we can see here, this is our root note. And so we can go ahead and draw it, and I will draw it to about here. And now we can go ahead and build a chord, and we could build a chord up or down. In this case, to keep it simple, I will build the chord up. And so we're gonna skip every other step in the scale itself. So this is a step in the scale. So we will go to this one here, and we are good to go. Let me go ahead and shorten that. All right, and then we will skip another scale in the step, and then we go to this one here. And we know this is a minor chord because it's smaller here and bigger here. When it's smaller on the bottom and bigger on the top, it is a minor chord. And when it is bigger on the bottom and smaller on the top, it is a major chord. Now that we've got our first chord, B minor, made, we can go ahead and see what the next root note is going to be. And we'll just go right there. And we'll bring that out to the 3, which is the end of 2 bars. So, and now we are drawing out because we're skipping one of the keys in the scale and building that out. So now we've got a major chord here. And I will drop this down to right here. And again, I will skip a step in the scale, go up. There we are. And as we can see, everything lines up nicely, which is pretty cool. And we can already kind of hear that we want to hear it resolve here. So we'll go ahead, start that. We can draw this in any order. We can draw it bottom up, or we can draw it top down, either which way. Skip a step, go here, skip another step, and there we are. So let's play that back. Okay, so now we have our chord progression built out, and we could copy this across as it is, but let's go ahead and do a little bit more with it. What we can now do is give these root notes some space. So let's go ahead and copy those, and we can drop them down an octave, but I will go ahead and paste them back in right here. So now we've got a fuller chord situation. But another thing I will do is I'll drop them down another octave just so that they're a little bit deeper. Let's go down one more. And let's see what happens if we bring them all down an octave. All right, so we've got, I think, a pretty full body chord right here with our bass notes, and we could get intricate and kind of stretch this out a little bit more. Let's see what that sounds like if we do that. And let's go ahead and I'm going to leave the chords alone and build my melodies actually up here. So I'll go ahead and copy this. Let's rewind back to 1 and then paste it, but shoot it up an octave. And this will kind of give me a guide to let me know how I am building with the top notes of the chords. So I already kind of hear, I'm going to go. So let me go ahead and draw that in. And a lot of this is just for me, trial and error. So go ahead and we'll copy this across and see how it sounds. Don't like that. And what I'm doing just in real time is just kind of experimenting to see how different melodies sound here that we're building within the scale. And a lot of that is when you're drawing in, it comes down to that. You're just kind of trying out different things. Yeah, there's some hard and fast rules that you do learn when you're building out your melodies and your chords within the piano roll. But then a lot of it is you just experimenting until you find something that sounds good. So we're going to keep building this here. And I'm gonna go ahead and bring all this up another octave just to see how it sounds. And what I like to always make sure I do is I give a little bit of overhang, like with instruments like the piano. Now what I would probably do is take this note data here and I would probably copy it, put it on another track. So let's go ahead and do another pure piano track and draw out and then hit paste, bring it to the beginning, and we are good to go. And then I would take it from our original progression and take that out. That way we And now that we've got that kind of set up, we could go ahead and think about the other elements that we would want to add. So let's say we wanted to use Pure Synth Platinum. Let's go with a choir of some sort. And the beauty of working with NanoStudio 2 is sometimes you want to draw it in, sometimes you want to play it in. Now we could go ahead and let's copy this data across, and we are going to do another audio unit, and let's go with Moog. Again, my favorite sound at the moment is this trilly bass. It just works for me right now. So go ahead and use that, and we've got everything we need right here to know what's going on. But I will go ahead and raise this up an octave. Let's turn this down a little bit. And we will delete all these chords, so we just got the root note only. And a lot of times with certain patches, they don't like to intersect each other, so you just, if you turn the snap off your grid, you can just move it back just slightly. That way we get the hit on every one. And if we don't want that initial attack, we can stretch it out. So entirely up to you, but that's something to keep in mind. And we'll bring that up. Now we know we could come here and make sure our snap is on, and we go draw this in. And again, we will bring this back, this attack back a little bit. Turn the snap off just so we can go back just a little bit. And so that's our first 4 bars. And so what I will do is bring this out now to a full 8 bars. And I will join these two. And again, copy this scale data and bring it back into here, because I know I want to do a change up with the bass. So now I've got the scale data again that I can use to draw out some changes with the bass at the end of the 4 bar measure, going from bars 4 to 8. And for me, there's not really any rules with this. I just go off of feel. Turn the snap back on. And let's go ahead and copy this, and let's bring you up an octave and paste this one right here and move it there and see how that sounds. And I'll make this a little bit faster. And now as I'm listening to this more, I don't think I want that attack in there at all. So I will go ahead and stretch these out just to make sure that that attack does not happen. And I don't think that sounds too bad. So now that we've got that done, we can go ahead and work on our next element. I kind of like this, so I'll just go ahead and add that. So yeah, that's just the root note across most of the 8 bar measure, about 6 of the 8 bars. So nothing sophisticated there. It was just more about the vibe and whatnot. Now we could go ahead and see what else we're going to add. Made a couple of mistakes there, so I'll go ahead and fix those now. Let's go ahead and stretch this out. Turn our snap off just to give it a little bit more natural feel. And then we could take this, go ahead and duplicate it, join them, and then again, let's go ahead and select all to the scale helpers, paste them in right here. And now we've got our guide to let us know if we want to change some things up, where we need to go with the notes. We always want to move these to the next note in the scale underneath it. All right, to turn the snap back on. So I think that kind of gives it an interesting feel, a little bit of a change up. And there we've got a pretty well built composition, mostly done in the piano roll, but also done in conjunction with the in-scale piano keys with the NanoStudio 2 right here. And as you can see, the workflow really wasn't that bad when using the scale guides in order to help us get there. And all it is really trial and error along with some foundational knowledge of kind of building out the chords, a little bit of music theory, but nothing, too crazy in advance. But we were able to build a pretty good sounding composition. So be sure to let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, found it useful, please be sure to hit the like button as well as the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss out on the latest news, tips, tricks, sales, beats, reviews, updates, and more. And if you want more content like this, be sure to let me know. I'll make it happen. But yeah, here's what we came up with.